Hello, everyone, and welcome to Girl Ask Me Anything Monday Moments. I am your host, Desiree Foster Collins. I'm a leadership and technology coach. I'm also certified and licensed leadership expert with the John Maxwell team. And a part of my purpose is to help later in life women entrepreneurs, tongue twister, to discover their infinite potential, develop their strengths, and to design their success their way. One of the things that I often say is that you and I were built for this moment right here, right now. Did you know that? And because of that, there are things that you have inside of you that the world is waiting on, that it's ready to experience. And it is a part of your responsibility to understand who you are so that you can be who you need to be, so you can do the things that you need to do, so that you can have the things that you want to have. So, welcome again to Monday Moments. I am super excited about my guest tonight, as I always am. Um, the Cheryl Harris-Sutton. Cheryl is a personal growth strategist. She's a leadership expert. She has over 3 decades of executive experience in leading both oral and behavioral health programs. And some of the areas of her expertise include quality management, improvement, credentialing, provider network management, accreditation, and compliance. So she is a brilliant woman. I know anyone working with doctors has to, you have to be able to leverage all of the skills that you have. I love my doctors. And we need people that can actually help to get them and get the right ones in place and have the quality so that you can have the quality care that you and I both want, right? She is a co-author. She hails all the way from, I believe, Virginia. So I'm going to be quiet now. I'm going to go ahead and bring Cheryl on. And I am super excited to have you with me today, Cheryl. Hello.
Hello, Desi.
I am
I
so
am excited to be here.
Thank you for saying yes and coming to just come and chat with my girls here in the Girl Ask Me Anything community.
Awesome. Like I said, I'm excited to be here. And, I just love the fact that you are targeting older women that have a dream.
That's exactly it. And it's so funny because when people have asked me, like, okay, well, Desiree, why that particular demographic? And one of the reasons is because, like, especially now that we've got so many generations, I think we have like 4 or 5 generations now working under the same roof. A
Mhm.
lot of the conversation is around millennials and Gen Z. And so, but there's a wealth of knowledge and expertise that comes with the baby boomer generation and Gen X. And so, with the exodus, retiring, all of those things, I know that there are women out there that have a dream, that skill set, potential, and all of that, that they can bring to the world.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
thank you for that. For tonight we're talking about something very, very simple, and it's called maximizing your potential. Maximizing your potential. So, Cheryl, if you would, I gave all the highlights and your vast expertise, but would you share a little bit more about who you are with our audience?
Sure. As you said, I am a healthcare executive. I've been in the healthcare industry for more than 30 years, more than 3 decades. But I think, more than that, what has made me me is the fact that I have spent the majority of my adult life as a single woman, as a single mom, and as a corporate executive. And so all of that combined really has helped to mold and shape me into the woman I am today. And so, in addition to being a healthcare executive, I also am an entrepreneur. It is my desire to help people to identify where they are and where they would like to go to, and then help them come up with a plan to get there. Um, I love this topic of maximizing potential because I know that each of us are gifted, that each of us have a reason and a purpose for being here. And it can be difficult at times to figure out exactly what that reason is. And I find so many that struggle with trying to discover what is my purpose and why am I here. And I believe that part of my responsibility is to help people to understand who they are and how they can be the best of who they are. And that's really it. I feel, unfortunately, so many of us settle for less than who we are. But we are built with such greatness. And so I just want to help people be great.
I love that. So, I've often heard people say, well, I want to know what my purpose is. I want to know what my purpose is. Like, how do I find my purpose? What can you tell us about that process, or is there even a process to doing that?
Yeah, I think to some degree, there's a loose process, but not necessarily a concrete process. And I say that because, I think back on one of my pastors at one point said, he would preach to us all the time that it's easier to move a car in motion than it is to move a parked car. And I believe our potential is pretty much like that. So that, it really takes getting out there and discovering what you like, what you don't like, discovering where your strengths are, discovering where you may have an area where that's not necessarily your strength. And you won't know that if you don't get out there and begin to try new things, stretch yourself, go beyond what you think you're capable of. Because in some cases, you're going to find that you're not only capable of that, but you're capable of so much more. And so that's why I say discovering your purpose really is a loose process, because it does require us to step outside of those things that we're comfortable with, step outside of those things that we may know we're naturally gifted in. And just, like I said, trying new activities, new things, new experiences, because all of that helps to mold and shape us and helps us to figure out who we are, and in turn helps us to figure out what our purpose is.
So tell me this, Cheryl. Personal growth strategist, what specifically does that entail?
It entails really allowing the flexibility to customize, helping people with different tools based on what they need. So again, not having just one process or one mechanism, one tool to help people figure out who they are, but having a myriad of resources and tools and being able to take a person and to customize a plan that helps them to achieve what they're seeking to achieve. So that's why I call myself a personal growth strategist. It's really about coming up with a strategy that's best for the individual.
So have you had any experiences where a person says, okay, what, I want to grow,
Mhm.
but there's a gap between the want to and the will to,
Mhm.
right? And then the action that has to happen in between that space. What would you tell someone who they know that they need to do something different,
Mhm.
but the mindset that goes into actually doing the work? Like, what do you say to someone who, okay, well, yeah, I want to go in this career direction, or I want to start a business, or you know, the want to and the actual doing are two different things.
Right.
So how do you identify that? How do you help them in that space?
Yeah, and actually, I think pretty much everyone goes through that phase. And so I have found the best place to take a person back to, if we're not already there, is to start with the why. Why is it that you want to do what it is you want to do? What's holding you back from doing what it is that you want to do? But that why becomes very important, because that why is what motivates us. That why is what drives us. And so, in the absence of a why, you really do kind of flounder a bit trying to figure out, is it really worth it for me to move forward in this direction? When you run across an obstacle or a challenge, it becomes very easy to say, well, maybe that's not for me. But if you can really understand your why, it will help to push you through this process.
Mm-hmm. So you said you're an entrepreneur and you also you have a full-time career.
Yes.
How long have you been in business?
I have been in business since 2018.
Okay. And what's the story behind that? Why did you decide to venture out and jump into the scary world of entrepreneurship?
Well, growing up, I have always done something that was, entrepreneurial in nature. As a child, when I think back, I had relatives. One time I had a cousin, we were doing the Sunday school summer vacation trip, and she couldn't afford to gather the money that she needed for the trip. And she also wanted to have an outfit. And so my first thought was, no problem. We're going to open a hot dog shop and raise the money for you. So that is exactly what we did. I was set up in my parents' yard, and we started selling hot dogs to raise the money for her. So I've always, like I said, had a desire to be an entrepreneur. When I was a teenager, in fact, I used to love, actually sometimes still do, bake from scratch. And at that time, it was a true passion of mine was baking from scratch. And I happened to do pound cakes really well. And so at the nudging of my mom, I actually started a business where I was selling my pound cakes. When I went into my early adulthood, I did, the various programs that, are out here. So I've always done something. I've always worked, but I've always in a business environment. But I've also always done something outside of work, and really just because I've always felt like there's something more in me. There's something that was in me that I wasn't really satisfying and fulfilling in my work, in my professional job, even in my executive career. I've been blessed tremendously in my roles as a healthcare executive, but I still feel like there's more. I feel like I've not really peaked. I've not reached my potential. I've not even actually discovered all the things that I have the potential to do. And so there's just always this desire, this burning inside of me that says, you can do more and don't settle. So that's why I pursued being an entrepreneur in addition to working full time.
I love that. I love the fact that you said you knew that there was something more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, the job is the job. I'm going to do the job well. I've been blessed with the opportunity. It's taking care of me and my children.
Exactly.
But there's something more. There's that burning desire on the inside. And
Yes.
I've always liked that burning desire to, like, a nudging. I'm a woman of faith, so there's no qualms about that. So I share it in this space. It's like the Holy Spirit is saying, okay, but I made you for more, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, so you're going to settle? Okay, well, here's a push.
And there have been some times when I thought, you know what, this is too much. I am going to settle. But like you said, and I'm a woman of faith as well. And so every time I have tried to back up and kind of, work my way, frankly, towards retirement, I'm just going to coast my way through. As you said, the Holy Spirit comes back and says, really, is that really what you're going to do?
It's like, is that what you think you're going to do? Huh?
Yes.
Oh, for real? Okay, I got it for you. Here's a project that only you can do. And every time you try to give it to somebody else, it comes back in circle.
Yes. So I finally have just resolved myself to the fact that, I'm not going to settle. So let me just go ahead and give it all I have and go from there.
I love it. I read an article earlier today. We were talking before we jumped in on live, and I read an article in the Harvard Business Review, and it talked about how, and this is especially for those, you guys are just catching up with us. My name is Desiree Foster Collins. This is Cheryl Harris-Sutton. She's the CEO and founder of Harris-Sutton Enterprises.
Yes.
And she's a personal growth strategist. And we're talking tonight about maximizing your potential. And so the article was talking about, it asked the question, are you a high potential? And there's so many people that work for organizations that in order to land the position, you must exhibit certain qualities. There's the technical components, and then there are the components that you can't measure, the soft skills that are needed that really can make or break your being seen as a high potential. And the article goes on to talk about how they did the survey. I don't remember how many people they surveyed, but 10% of the organizations that they surveyed said that they focused on developing their high potentials. So that meant that 90% of organizations didn't.
Exactly.
And then you have 93% of these same organizations say that high potential employees get promoted faster than any other employees do. So you've got this bend between 10% of us, 90% of us don't develop our employees. And you've got 93% of of the ones that said they don't develop their employees saying that, okay, well, you need to be a high potential. So
Right.
what would you tell someone who feels like they want to be seen so that they can catapult their career, but they're not in the space where they're actually being developed? What advice would you give them?
Well, I would absolutely say that from my experience, first of all, that article is very true. Like I said, being in the corporate world and being in mid and senior level positions, I know that I am tasked with, when it comes time for performance reviews, I'm tasked with identifying those of my staff that fall in that high potential quadrant. And it is those staff that actually are the ones of focus, that receive the attention, that receive the focus, that are maybe even given opportunities to expand and develop themselves. So what I would say to someone that feels, for instance, that they're being left out, that they are not being seen, they're not being recognized, is that you have to recognize yourself first. And you really have to put the time and the commitment, the effort into growing and developing yourself. There's a hymn in the gospel world that says, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." And in fact, when we develop ourselves, when we develop our potential, when we discover our strengths, when we decide that we are going to lean into what makes us the best of who we are, other people will see it. You won't really have to struggle to help to get people to see you. Your light will shine and people will begin to recognize you. People will begin to notice that there is a difference in you. And so now to do that, you can't just settle for being average. You can't settle for mediocre. You can't settle for comparing yourself with others and just saying, I'm going to do the same thing everyone else is doing. You really have to be the best of who you are. And I can share a very recent personal example. Over the last several years, frankly, I got complacent in my job, and I was getting to a place where I could very easily say, I'm just going to slide my way to retirement from this point. And I saw people around me, some of my peers, saw them, being promoted to positions. And I knew again that there was something more in me, that I hadn't maxed myself out in my position. And so my first step really was to evaluate myself and ask myself, was I really giving my absolute best? Was I really giving the company an opportunity to not only see me, but to see me at my best? Mm-hmm. And as painful as it was, I had to say to myself, no, I wasn't really giving my absolute best. I wasn't letting my light shine to its fullest degree. And so, it's very difficult to live these leadership principles and try to compartmentalize them and only have them impact your personal life, but I'm not going to have it impact my professional life. And so, a few years ago, I made a commitment to making sure that I was living out these leadership principles. And so again, I had to ask myself, am I really living these out? And I was falling a little bit short in some areas. And so over the last year, it has been my mission to be the best Cheryl Harris-Sutton that I can be. Mm-hmm. And the result of that has been that just 2 weeks ago, I was promoted into a regional vice president position after feeling, that I had been overlooked. And, it would have been easy to say, oh, well, they just don't see me, and I'm just going to kind of sulk and pout, and I'm just going to stay where I am and let that be the end of the story. But I decided that that wasn't the end of the story. Yeah. And so while I wasn't so much seeking to get promoted into this position, I was seeking to show that I'm better than what they were seeing. That was really what I wanted them to see, was that I had so much more potential than what I knew they were seeing. And so I made it my plan to be the best person that I could be. And so I went back and factored into my calendar on a daily basis. I put some time in for leadership, put some time into my work schedule for personal development while I was at work. And then I began those things that I was developing in, those things that I was growing in. I began a process of transitioning that to the people that report to me, so that not only was I making myself better, but I was also making my team better. And frankly, again, as a result of that, my light started to shine. It started to shine bright, and I was actually pursued for this particular promotion. So
okay, hold on, wait a second. Okay, because I hope everyone that's watching that you guys heard the magic in what she said. It started off with, and I'm going to just put my own Desiism on it. Okay? It started off with, okay, I know that I'm not being my best. Mm-hmm. I'm being complacent. To, okay, I need to give myself a checkup from the neck up and do something different, which involved changing the thought process.
Yes.
And then from there, you made a decision to, okay, I'm no longer going to be the best kept secret. I'm going to dive into Cheryl, help Cheryl to become the best by facing her own excuses, alibis, whatever stories you were telling yourself as to why you were feeling like, okay, I don't know if this is where I need to be, want to do. And then you intentionally wrote that into your calendar, that you're going to develop yourself. So that meant that you invested your time, effort, and your cash into developing yourself, and then turn around and bless somebody else to help them become better too. And
exactly.
And they chased after you to give you the position that they just gave you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, everyone that's watching, and we have a couple people on here, if you can understand the process of what Cheryl has just shared as to the secret to the current success that she has, you will actually see that it wasn't a secret at all. There was intention behind it. There was the whole checkup from the neck up. There was the decision making, and then the actual intentional action that has now allowed for you to be given a role or a title, right? A role or a title that you actually earned when you decided to become different.
Yes.
So the title had to catch up with you. The title had to catch up with your decision that you made.
Exactly. Exactly. Again, it wasn't focusing on the title. It was really focusing on, how can I be the best me? Mm-hmm. And I had made a decision. If I wasn't going to be the best me, then it was likely time for me to ship out and leave and go somewhere else. And I felt like, but it wasn't time for me to go yet. I
Mhm.
challenged myself, frankly. I was like, I really don't want to go somewhere else until I know that I had exhausted who I am in this place. And I felt like I knew I wasn't there. I had not exhausted who I am at this place. And so I just challenged myself to grow and to be better
Mhm.
than than what I was exhibiting.
You
Because
know,
I knew I had it in me.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, for the folks that are joining us, we're talking about maximize your potential, and this is Coach Cheryl Harris-Sutton. She's a personal growth strategist, and when it comes to potential, potential can seem like such an elusive thing. But if you listen to the story that she just shared, it's not elusive. Discovering the why is not elusive. It's actually, it takes intentional work and intentional thought and intentional ways of being and doing things differently. You mentioned that terrible word, the A word, which we are supposed to not use in any type of conversation, but that of being average. That
Mhm.
of being, oh, I'm just going to wait out my time. I'm just gonna make my money, and then I'm going to go on and I'm going to find something else to do. But then people will jump from job to job, position to position, and in some shape, form, or fashion, run into the same challenges that they had because the problems didn't exist where they were per se. I mean, they could. Culture has something to do with that
Mhm.
as well, right? But it can start here when we shift the way that we think about things, the things that we think about. What did Tony Robbins say? We change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So, what advice would you give someone who is looking at pursuing opportunities? Like, what advice would you give them in order to, for them to leverage the best of who they are?
Yeah, I love that question. It just so happens that on Thursday evening, I am doing a session titled How to Do a Life Audit. And a life audit is a tremendous tool because it helps you to identify what your strengths are. It helps you to identify what your purpose is, helps you to identify that why, helps you to make sure that you're clear on what your core values are. And those are all the things that I would say get clear on those things first. When we can get clear on our core values, it really does serve as our North Star. It gives us some guidance. It helps us to make decisions that are the right decisions for us. When we know who we are, we know what we stand for, we know again those core values. So, I would really say start with digging deep and discovering and identifying and being crystal clear on who you are, and not who you are as an entrepreneur, not who you are as a corporate person, not who you are in terms of relationships with other people, but just finding and discovering who you are as a being, who you are as a person, because it then, like I said, it will help to guide every other area of our lives. So getting that clarity around who we are, and so often as I talk with people, that's one of the biggest things people struggle with is, well, who am I? Because we are told so often who we are, and so to have a mind shift and discover who we are versus being told who we should be or who we are told to be, it takes some time to come out of that kind of process, and to really discover that. So it takes some time to meditate and to journal and to ask yourself lots of questions, to be honest with yourself about yourself,
Hmm.
and then go from there to develop a plan that enables you to figure out where it is you desire to be. So that process of really discovering who you are, and again, not to please anyone else, but discovering who I am really will take you a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember in the role, because I do work full time. I
Mhm.
work full time. I run a business. I've got my kids. You're trying to take care of a home. You got distance learning. There's
Right.
all the things, right? And I can remember several years ago when in the role that I'm in, I've had several people say, okay, well, Desiree, why don't you go for this position, or why don't you try to move yourself up in that space? And
Mhm.
one of the saving graces that I've had, because joy is so important to me, and
Mhm.
making sure that I'm operating in the gifts and the talents and abilities that I know that I've been called to be, and the things that I've been called to do. When I got so incredibly clear on that,
Mhm.
the money no longer had the pull that it did when I wasn't clear on who I am, what I want to do, and what I want to have.
Yep.
And so it's allowed for me to not have that angst of, okay, well, I need to make it to this position in order for me to feel like I've accomplished, or I am somebody now,
Mhm.
right? Or I need to up the six figures, and then I'll be somebody.
Right.
Each of us has different gifts, skills, and ability, but that life audit, who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you
Mhm.
want to have? And being true to you
Yes.
will help help people out there to separate the the truth from the lies by discerning,
Exactly.
you know?
Yep, exactly. You talk about the impact that money has, and in an earlier lifetime, I had a period where I had a very good corporate job, was in a very senior position, with a very nice salary, and there was a layoff, and I unfortunately was caught in that layoff, and so initially I struggled because so often we do define ourselves by what we do, by what our employment is. And so I found I didn't realize it at the time, but after I no longer had that position, I realized how much faith I was putting into that position and how
Mhm.
much I was identifying who I was by that position, by that title, by that salary. And so having that period, and it was about an 18-month period where I did not have that employment, it really, again, helped me to discover, well, who am I really? I no longer have this title, this position. So what does that leave? Who am I? And I had to ask myself those questions. And because I had that, I'm really actually grateful. It didn't feel fun, and I wasn't so grateful at the time that it was occurring. But by the time I got to the other side of it, I realized that it really was a great opportunity for me to really figure out who I am, what it was that I wanted, beyond, as you said, beyond what money could offer, but really to figure out what is it that I want to have happen in my life? What is it that I want my life to stand for? What is the legacy that I want to leave? And I discovered for myself that, family is extremely important to me. I have a daughter, and at the time, as I said, I was raising her as a single parent. And so it was extremely important for me, it became very important for me to really model for her um, what was important in life, because I didn't want her to get stuck in a situation where her employment was defining who she was, but I really wanted her to know the true her. And so it has been, I've been really blessed over these last several years. As I mentioned, getting promoted to the position recently, she said to me, "Mom, I'm so proud of you because, she said, not that you're old, she said, but, you really are, you're at that age where you could have very easily said, I'm just going to coast my way through this and just wait until I get to that point of retirement." She said, "But here you are, Mom, you're still going at it. You're still, being your best. You're still um, getting, being advanced. You're still trying to be the best of who you are." And that, I really honestly can't even put into words what that meant to me. But to have her recognize that the importance of really being who you are, because it helps us not to just be the best of who we are, but those that are watching us, those that we are serving as role models for, and in our cases, our children, they see that. And so, needless to say, that is the start of building a legacy for them. And so I am just so proud to be able to leave that, drop that in her spirit, lead her in that way, so that as she continues to grow and develop, she's looking to be the best of who she is.
Mm-hmm. It's not what's taught, it's what's caught.
Yes.
It is not what's taught, it's what's caught, and they will watch what we do
Mm-hmm.
before they hear what we say.
Yes. So,
So good. So incredibly good. Um, there's so many other questions that I could talk to you and I could ask you. But I want to make sure that I wrap this up for all of the viewers that are watching. Um, if you could step into my shoes,
mhm.
what would what would you have asked that I didn't ask you?
What would you have asked? What would I have asked? Hmm. I think maybe just how I would go about serving others.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, because that's the other thing I discovered. It's great to identify who I am and to be the best of who I am. But I had to go further. Like, why do I want to be the best? And it wasn't just for me. And truthfully, it wasn't even just for my daughter. It wasn't just for her. But as I looked around me, I realized that as my level of awareness opened, as I began to have a better understanding of how you can step into growing yourself, becoming yourself, so that you can succeed and be the best of who you are. I knew that I had a responsibility to take other people by the hand and to also show them the way. And so, being a part of a community where you're helping to serve and to grow, to help others to grow, is so important. And so, you know, if you're really going to be, my personal belief, if you're going to be the best of who you are, it really does go outside of yourself. It's not just about building yourself up, but it's building yourself up so that you can bring others along with you.
Yeah, I think you've really shown that too, because even in now the position that they came and sought after and gave to you, the fact that you grew yourself and then you turned around and said, okay, you know what? Let me help the people that work with me to become better. That I'm sure that was seen as well, because all boats rise.
Yes.
When the tide comes in, all boats rise, and so we want to make sure that anyone that we are tied to, if I'm going up, everybody that's with me, everyone's coming up too. The
Hmm.
only way they don't come up is if they choose to.
Exactly.
And at that point, you're dead weight, and I can't do that. I can't deal with dead weight, right? But
Exactly.
if you want to rise, if I want to rise, we'll both rise together,
Right.
right? Oh, this is so good, Cheryl. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, here's the last question, the signature question. Um, if you could share one thing that you know for sure that you are built for this for to give to the world, what would that be?
I would have to say I am built to be an ambassador. And to be more specific, I am built to be an ambassador of hope and change.
Love it.
Mhm.
An ambassador of hope and change, because it's
That's what
possible.
that's what people need. People need to change. If we are going to grow, the purpose of growth is to change so that we can change and become the best of who we are. So like I said, we grow, we become, we succeed. And you really can't succeed until you grow. You can't grow, you can't become until you grow. So it really starts that process: grow, become, succeed.
I love it. An ambassador for change and for hope. Well, Cheryl, I just want to thank you so much for just coming and spending time with not only the Girl Ask Me Anything community, who you've been a part of for quite some time, but also with my extended audience, and just being able to honor you and feature you, congratulate you in your
Thank you
new
so much.
role, and thank you for being someone who is intentional about helping people become the very, very best that they can be.
Thank you so much. And like I said, it has really been a pleasure and an honor to talk with you this evening and to talk with the community. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. But before we go, everyone, I do want to share with you there is an amazing event that is coming up this Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, November the 11th through the 13th. It is the Black Women Entrepreneur Tour, The Invisible Trillionaire. Now, it is a free event, y'all. Like, no
Nice.
cost to you. And there are going to be 21 different experts over the 3 days where you are going to learn how the Black woman contributes to $2.4 trillion in economic empowerment in our nation, and being able to not wait for someone to give you a seat at the table, but to help you make your own table. So I get the honor of being one of the speakers. I will be one of the speakers on November the 15th. I do want to share with you here it is for you. So let me just go ahead and share this with you. But this is, oh, what happened to it? Of course it doesn't show up when I need it to. Because that's our technology freak. This is why I'm a tech coach, right? Here it is. So this is the Black Women Entrepreneur Tour. So you can register at bit.ly Desiree Speaks. Again, it is absolutely free. And, tell your girlfriend, your mom, your granny, your auntie, your enemies, tell them all, because we want to help women who have a desire to be entrepreneurs and have a gift, product, talent, service, something that they want to bring to the world, to have that ability to do so. So that is what I wanted to share with each of you. Let me get this off of here. There we go. All right. So that's the information on that. And then also on Thursdays from 5:30 to 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, we do have the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, which is a weekly teaching call that you can jump on and learn. We are going through the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by our mentor, both Cheryl and my mentor, Dr. John Maxwell. We're learning the laws of growth, because in order to get to be, do, and have what you want to have, you got to grow. It's just that simple. It's
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
just that simple. Again, Cheryl, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. We're going to go ahead and close this out, everyone. I want to thank you for joining me tonight on the Girl Ask Me Anything Monday Moments live stream. I love you. I appreciate you. And we will see you again next week. Make sure that you're here right on time at 6 o'clock. We'll see you then.